my first team meeting with you guys, so I didn't even know.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, that's right, because that was your excuse last week. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Because
fair enough.
you
No,
guys
we're
said
good.
that
We're
was
good.
good now.
Did you do a social media
Yeah, I
video?
did.
Awesome. So you need to do a social media
Oh,
video.
absolutely.
Okay, great. So show of hands who did? Awesome. Show of hands who didn't. All right, so what's your pain? What's your pain?
Gotta make it good.
Yeah. What's your pain?
I had a problem.
What's your pain?
Can I
What are
come
you
back?
going to do for the team since you didn't post your social media
I had a
video?
situation, that's why I didn't post the video.
No.
No excuses.
No.
Okay, I'll make a massage, I'll give a massage to everybody. A back massage.
How's that gonna work out for you?
Oh, yeah.
No. What's your pain?
Can I come back with it this afternoon?
No. What's your pain?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. Can I bring cookies or something?
No. Come on, guys, give me something.
I'll
Anybody
help.
else? Anybody else want to
No.
volunteer their
It's
pain?
supposed to be.
What do you think? Who's pain?
If it's painful enough, if you're okay with it, an interview with Danny would definitely
Can
be
I
painful.
do an interview with Russ tomorrow?
No. Although I think I have something. So the three of you tomorrow at Bold,
Do say something in front of the class?
you need to stand up and say, so my team has standards every week, and we have to post a social media video. And since I didn't post a social media video, I'm looking to the Bold room to let us know what our pain is.
That hurts my stomach already.
I know it does.
That's okay, I'll do
You
it.
guys have to sing.
She's like her face went.
Can I
post it right now? A video?
No. Yeah.
I,
well, you
I
still
kinda
have-
wanna post one, just cause I'm trying to do more than, I'm trying to do like 3 a week.
Great. I love that. So that will be your pain. Does
Brandon,
anybody
did
have
you
a
do a
problem with
social
that?
media video?
No,
Did you do a social media
I
video?
did actually. I did actually.
Great.
Yeah, I didn't
So that's
see
what's
it.
gonna happen. Listen up, guys.
It was
Hold on.
there, it was on my business page. On my Instagram.
Is that first thing in the morning
Not my
before we
personal.
get started?
What?
Do we have to do that? Probably.
Yeah, at some point when somebody says, because Russ will say, hey, who wants to share something or whatever, and I know you'll be like, I'm gonna take it for the team. So, hey, Russ, Connor, Team Tiffy, hey, by the way,
Maybe we always sing together.
fine.
We can sing together
Fine.
and we three of us, somebody said like 3 of us didn't post the video and like.
It's a team standard. We're the only ones that didn't.
Yeah.
Everybody else on the team did.
You didn't do it?
What should be our pain?
Neither do
Good
I.
man.
Okay, so moving on. For the rest of you, video, post, including the rest of you who, hey, I'm interested in getting into real estate, I'm taking a career change, get in bed and get into business, not figuratively speaking only, get into business with strangers. So let everybody know that you're in real estate or are getting into real estate. Okay? Start painting that path and start laying that foundation. Because you are going to find, study shows that people engage with professionals where they can understand their personality. So video has a higher opportunity for engagement and conversion than a text, an email, a phone call. So start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable about video.
Did you do yours?
I did. I posted 2 videos this week.
And you didn't update your Facebook profile picture like you said you would.
No, like you said I would.
And you agreed to it.
Didn't disagree.
Is it
You're
still,
right.
is it still red day?
Yes. And I don't even have that photo.
I think I can
It's on
find
the,
never-
it's on the iPad.
I can find
Oh,
no.
I don't
It's
log
not.
into the
It's not
iPad.
on that. It's too long ago for that.
No, you weren't there.
This
Red
is just
Day.
from,
No, not
this
Red
is
Day.
from, we got our award on Thursday
Oh, that photo.
at the team meeting.
Oh, I thought
Fighting
you meant
that.
the photo.
Yeah,
I thought you meant
update
the
that
photo.
picture.
I agree.
Yeah,
We have
so
people who
it's
have
that. I thought you
access
meant
to
the photo's the
Facebook.
red day photo.
That's what he
So
had.
Can we
What's
put it
gonna
on
be
our
your
list
pain?
of things to do?
What's gonna be your pain?
Let's, it wasn't my job.
Put that on the calendar today.
She's, Jody's doing it.
Huh?
All right,
Calendar,
how many of you
change
have
his
recorded
Facebook
your
picture.
lead gen calls?
Not calls, but.
And,
Wait, what's the
and, great. I didn't hear yours on Friday during our,
Yeah, you didn't ask.
all right. I'll take it. You got it. So when we print off the 411s, let's add a little section automatically that says play recordings. Okay? Thank you though.
You didn't
So
ask.
the rest of you, let's record our calls. Otherwise, we'll get up in front of Russ and we'll,
Recording lead gen.
record your lead.
Broker
Yeah.
issue.
How many
I
do
can't
we
wait
have to
hear about
record?
this.
So most of the agents will just, they'll hit record and they'll go through the dialing session. And then
Okay.
if they find a really good recording or they find a really, they'll just mark the time code
Okay.
on it, like 20 minutes, 27 minutes in, whatever.
Got it.
Alright. Schedule your weekly 411s. There are some of you in this room that have not had a 411 with me in 2 months.
Not me.
Some of you in this room who have not had a 411 in more than 2 weeks are gonna get shut off of everything. And I'm not gonna call anybody out, but if you haven't had a 411 with me, especially as we're shifting, especially as we're going into the holidays, especially as we're getting into 2019, you need to. A 411, for those of you who are either at Keller Williams and just haven't learned it, or are not at Keller Williams, it is 4 weeks, 1 month, annual goal. And so the 411 is like, what do I need to do to get on goal? We also have what's called a 30, 60, 90, 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. We also have what's called a 1-3-5, 1 goal, 3 priorities, 5 strategies to get that done. Okay, and so those are systems that my team uses to keep everybody moving forward towards their goal. Weekly, we do a 411. All right, broker issues. So, I want to remind everybody, whether it's a home that is vacant or a home that is occupied, the probability of there being audio and video recording in that home is high.
I know.
Is high. And so based on that, this is a situation where a listing agent lost the listing because 2 separate occasions, buyers came in with their clients. Now, we had no control over the buyer,
Yeah.
but buyers came in with their clients, and the clients ran around, their kids were jumping up and down on the seller's bed, and somebody got into one of their drawers, and somebody opened up their wedding book. So, when you take listings, have the expectation with your sellers, hey, I can't control people that are gonna get into your house. So if you have anything that needs to get put away, please put it away. If you have anything that needs to get locked up and put in a safe, please do so. And when you represent buyers, you need to make sure that you're controlling the activity in the property with your buyers. Make sure that they are within ears and eye shot of you. And if your gut tells you you don't trust the buyer, don't trust the buyer. Okay? You know, and here's the script. Mom, make sure you can see me the whole time we're in the house. Never mind. That died. Nope, go back.
Over all
Go
of our
back.
heads.
Why is that a?
Don't
broker
trust the
issue?
buyer, Mom.
I don't get it. Still in my head. Still don't get it.
You're going into the house with Mom and you don't trust the buyer and you're like, Mom, don't get out of my eyes. You know, you're in somebody else's home. Jesus, never mind.
Still.
I'm proud today. MLS status. It is our policy, the team's policy, that we do not change the MLS status from active to under contract until the earnest money deposit has been received by escrow. MLS says it must be changed within 48 hours. So we need to put it on agent-to-agent comments. And it needs to be there. What I want the 2 of you to do, and every other agent to go in and at least visualize, go into Spartanburg or Shepherd, which are 2 listings that we just did. Look at the agent-to-agent comments. You will see that there are some boilerplate comments in there that says buyer and buyer's agent to verify all information. Please contact the listing agent, you know, for showings. Thank you for showing a Team Tiffy listing, blah, blah, blah. That stuff has to be in every listing. Yeah, Spartanburg is Tracy's new listing and Shepherd is Connor's new listing.
Oh,
So go into those 2, you're gonna see the same. That has to be put into all of our MLS, agent remarks, as well as this.
Okay.
Okay, so just make it a rule, make sure it's all in it. Go ahead, moving on. So let's talk about agent safety. This is not going to be a discussion, this is going to be a conversation.
Oh, you're the best.
You said that I'd never bring anything in, so.
Why'd you hand them to him?
Because he's
knows.
buying them.
Okay, we as real estate agents, we should always have a level of professional, safety, procedures, processes, decorum, whatever you want to call it, no matter what we're doing or no matter where we're at. Gut feelings take us a long ways in what we do. You should trust no one, ever, okay?
I learned my lesson yesterday.
You should always open up the door and vet it for safety anytime you're showing a house.
Or if you're knocking on a door. And don't argue with people that clearly aren't in their right mind.
Right? Okay? I mean, think about it. You go into a neighborhood. How many of you can honestly say you've been in that neighborhood once, twice, 3 times before? Probably not. You get confronted by someone, a neighbor, a homeowner, a vagrant, a passerby, doesn't matter. The chances of them being in that neighborhood more than you are high. When you're in an open house, set the procedure that says, you come in, I sign you in. I take your information. Nothing happens beyond the first 5 feet of the front door until that takes place.
Shannon had a problem with the lady didn't want to sign.
That's fine. You say, you know what, unfortunately for the security of myself and my
I told
sellers,
her that.
thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't let her in.
She walked around, she was there.
Yeah, you don't let her in. You say,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you become the gatekeeper. You set up your stuff in
Yeah.
front of the door.
Yeah.
Because the chances are, if they're not willing to converse with you and be professional with you,
They don't need to be in there anyway.
you're probably not gonna get anything from them anyways.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you stories of people walking into a home as a wonderful husband and wife. Oh, we've got a baby on the way, we're gonna buy a new home. And the wife goes this way and the husband goes this way, and all of a sudden the seller calls you up, or the agent of the home that you're listing, you're doing the open house for, saying, somebody got into my husband or my seller's closet and they took X, Y, and Z.
So at that point, if there's stuff still in the home, would you recommend walking with them?
I do.
You always
I
wanna
always
walk
do.
with them
I
and
recommend
don't split up.
that you have a safety plan and a business plan in place that says, when I'm holding an open house, this is how I operate.
I always walk with them everywhere they go. I wanna make sure, like, I see everything. I keep my distance, I let them take a look. If they have any question, I answer. But I don't feel comfortable leave anybody walking around because I don't want anything to get,
Especially if it's not vacant.
Yeah.
Especially.
you know?
So several months ago, I talked about 2 experiences that I've had. One of them is I showed a home here in Summerlin. Actually, it's right up here in the Vistas, in a gated community, a vacant home. My buyers were not first-time buyers. It was almost dusk, but it was still light outside. I opened up the house, everything was off, and I knew the electricity was on because the porch light or a garage light or something was on. But the entire house was dark, like pitch black. And I went in, and as I started to walk down the hallway, and my clients were behind me, but they had walked into the house. And I looked down the hallway, and this guy is like running towards me. Now, the hallway is dark, but it's not pitch black. Something was in his hand, and instinct took over, and I turned around, I pushed the clients out, I had left the key in the front door, I closed the door, I had locked it, I had pulled out, and I had called the cops. Now, my buyer, who was already out of the house, had also already called the cops. Here's the benefit. My broker at the time taught me to always leave the key in the door and
Okay.
always leave the door open, no matter if it's 120 degrees or no matter if it's
Yeah.
freezing cold. Because, and he always said, your clients always walk into a house after you. Now, I've been into some seedy homes, into some seedy neighborhoods. I've ran into people who are, squatting in homes. They were the nicest people on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna leave, don't call the cops, please, please, please. Hey, yeah, it's not my problem, I'll call the listing agent, hey, by the way. But I'm not there
Yeah.
to police. I walk into a home that's $300,000 house, and I got a guy running after me. Sure enough, he was a vagrant as well. The important part to understand is, I do the same thing no matter what home I open up, no matter what part of town I'm in.
Yeah.
No matter what price point. I always tell my buyers, please stay behind me, I'll bring you in, I'm just gonna go in and make sure the home is vacant. And those of you who have gone on appointments with me, you know that's what I do. Because you question that, well, why do you do this? I go in, I kinda look around real quick, I keep them behind me as best as I can. And when I feel that it's safe, I guide them into a public area in the house, and I start going into the back of the house or upstairs and all that. But I don't let them run around.
And you kept your car on that one time we went to Blankenship as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, and you gave me a hard time about it, and I said, because I need to be able to get into my car and leave.
Yeah, I left the car
And
on.
he was more worried about my car getting stolen.
'Cause we
I'm
were-
good with the car getting stolen, that's fine.
Yeah, you have
I need to make sure
insurance.
I'm safe.
Yeah.
And so if your gut tells you, I don't know what I'm getting into,
Yeah,
be precautious, turn on all your lights, honk the horn a couple of times. I don't care what other people think.
yeah.
Get to the house ahead of time, open it up, make sure that it is safe before your buyers walk in. So create a plan, whatever that is. I go in and I open up all the blinds, I turn on all the lights everywhere, I talk loud, not that I wouldn't anywhere else, but I do the same thing.
Yeah,
And when somebody walks in to an open house, I'm watching them.
yeah.
I'm what's the word,
Vigilant?
no, I am,
That's a good word.
what do police do? I'm having a brain fart.
Oh, you.
I'm profiling them.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out, is there one reason I shouldn't let them into the house?
yeah,
And if your gut tells you no, step out in front.
yeah.
Talk a little louder. Hey, how are you? Welcome to the open house. Like,
Yeah.
look around. Do that no matter what. So, now that you know to create a plan, and if you have questions on your plan, come and talk to me. I do recommend you buy a bottle of mace, a little, you can buy them anywhere,
I'm
locksmith
gonna get a
shops.
bee spray.
Put it in your pocket. I do recommend that you keep people at the front door. They want something you have. That's your area of opportunity to say, you give me what I want, and I give you what you want. And then, if you're a listing agent, you have the conversation with your sellers, and you say, listen, we're gonna do some open houses, agents are gonna be bringing in their buyers. I won't let anybody into the home that's not licensed, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out there that just because they have a license, they're not trustworthy. So, I can't control that. So I recommend that you put things away, put things in a safety deposit box, go get a safe, do whatever you need to do to protect your home, because people are gonna get in here that I don't know. And if they say, well, then I don't want anybody in the house, then don't take the listing, move on. Okay, you'll have that conversation, well, what does this look like? No, it's okay. Let's minimize our damage, let's maximize our opportunity. Now, if you are confronted with something, there are apps that you can download for real estate agents. I don't know the name specifically, but somebody will do some research on it, where you actually call into the app, and if you don't do something on the app every few minutes, it'll automatically call
Call?
311, and it uses your phone's GPS to identify where you are. There's some cool apps out there.
Oh, so maybe now I know.
Okay, so Trish Williams is a great one to ask. She's our tech chair at our market center, and she kind of knows all that stuff. But have a plan,
Yeah.
okay? Make sure people know where your open house is. Check in on WhatsApp. Let's create a situation with the team where if you're doing an open house, you say, hey guys, I'm at the open house.
Yeah, I do that.
And every 10 minutes, you clock in on WhatsApp. I'm at the open house, everything's good.
Mhm.
Create something.
Yeah,
And then stick to it, and don't forget. Okay? And if you're presented with a challenge and you don't feel safe, you have 100% my support to shut things down. You have 100% support. And then I would say, what can we do for the next time so you're not faced with that situation again?
I think Facebook is good for you to do with somebody else,
Mhm.
not alone.
Yeah.
I feel like any house, honestly.
I'm not gonna stand up here and tell you what I think you should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Because your level of safety is gonna be different from your level, which is gonna be different from his.
Yeah.
And so who am I to sit here and tell you you should or shouldn't do something? I want you to be safe. I want you to have a level of professional cautiousness in your business. And I want you to know that you have a team that supports you in whatever you do. Okay? That's all I can ask for. But we all have to have that. Some of you have been selling real estate for a long time and have never had a life-threatening situation. And I was within my first year. And I'm a guy, and I was a big guy. I was a bigger guy then than I am now, and I had a family behind me, and this guy should have ran out the back door. So I don't ever want to say it won't happen again, because it will. If you sell enough homes, you're gonna present yourself with enough challenges. Put the plan in place today.
Did that guy get arrested? Or do you know?
Don't know. We were gone. I don't even think the cops actually showed up, to be honest with you. We were gone, moved on, called the listing agent, told them about it. Well, we're not sticking around. Right. Because at
So
the time.
he break in the house?
I know that he didn't live there because we had talked to the listing agent, and the listing agent said, no, the house was vacant and nobody should have been in there. But I don't know who he was. He looked like he was homeless. He looked like he was homeless.
And you didn't stick around?
And this was about this time of year.
Oh.
Yeah, so it
Cold
wasn't
outside.
cold and it wasn't, but I
Oh,
remember it
yeah.
getting a little darker early and
Yeah.
anyways. All right, so safety, any questions on that?
I got a question.
Yes.
So if the couple comes in and they split, do you just say, whoa, what are you doing for like stop them?
No.
You're representing a buyer or you're doing an open house, give me the
Open house,
scenario.
like they come in and they sign in, then one goes this way and
So-
another one goes that way.
If it's a vacant home,
If
So
no,
here,
there's, like,
yeah,
stuff
so
in-
here's what I do in an open house. Let's assume the open house is occupied. When I go into the open house, I go in and sweep the home. I'm looking for things, I'm making sure, I'm kind of getting a digital picture of all the rooms and I'm closing doors, like I'm doing things to just make sure that there's no, I'm not inviting the wrong behavior.
like a chess.
And then I constantly am looking at the home. I'm constantly. I let people walk through the home on their own. And I'm listening to them because there's usually not 20 people in the house. So I can usually hear conversations and I can hear people opening drawers and closets and all that. So it's usually not a problem. And if I feel like somebody's in a room a little too long, I'll start walking into the room. But I do give them, because you're gonna find that some people just want their space. They wanna feel like the home is theirs. And I'm gonna tell you 9 out of 10 people, they're good. Okay?
Yeah, most of the people I did,
But
like,
that-
they don't
that
care, they
1%,
just wanna
yeah.
know about it. They wanna like, yeah, can you tell me about this, can you tell me about that?
Yep.
If you really wanted to, Cameron, you could say, I mean, just say, you know, the seller has asked that we all
Walk.
do all of the homes at the same time, all the rooms at the same time.
Or just say
Or
for
walk
your
through.
safety and for mine, I'd like you to stick with me the whole time. I think.
Or just.
I
if
wouldn't
it's
even
that,
ask them
like,
the
if it's like,
question.
I mean, if it's like, cause I worked in a model home for like 2 years straight, so I've invited people that were shady. But I only got one shady person in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I worked 5 days a week and I worked at night too. But I mean, I think you know, like if it's a couple and they're like, you profile them. If they look, they're like looking around really weird.
Use
and
your gut.
Yeah,
Use your
but you-
gut, you
yeah,
know?
but sometimes
Because I'm like Craig,
things doesn't
I-
have a face.
Oh, yes, they do.
I mean, you can read their behavior. Like if they're really fast moving.
I don't know, I'm comfortable, see what they do.
I feel like
I mean, they watch you more than they're looking at the house.
Okay, let's,
Anyway.
and we have the login and all that stuff ready, so we're ready to go right into it. Okay, great.
Everybody got their login, right?
What?
We have training at, let's start at 11.
Oh, the most vague questions,
If you guys
always,
wanna talk,
always.
ask questions.
So, all right, listen up. So January, just FYI, next month, beginning the middle of October, we're gonna have our business planning. November, sorry. We're gonna have our business planning for 2019. So we are probably going to take it off site. We'll probably go to lunch, we'll reserve a space for a few hours as a team, we'll go, we'll run it through. Although, Brandon and I have to get ready for our mastermind in January, which is going to be in Texas. And so,
Texas, I thought it was in
no,
Phoenix.
they moved it. They moved it to Dallas, Texas.
I think you missed the one in Phoenix.
They didn't do it, they moved it.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to like really get clear really fast the beginning of November. So I wanna plant the seed now, start thinking about your 2019 numbers. I can tell you that the team close transaction is going to be 300. Okay? So collectively, whatever your business is, needs to equal 300. Otherwise, I need to go find people that can add to the 300. So just keep that in mind. All right, our winner. So our appointments set, appointments held.
I have 4 missing hells up there. I'm just kidding.
Anybody dispute that?
Nope.
Nope.
All right, 2 class for John.
Guys,
John
I wanna
gets
add on
25.
to this as well. Remember, when is the cutoff time for this?
Monday morning.
Monday after what?
Huddle call.
If you guys, if I take the picture right after huddle call, if you
Okay.
missed, held appointment or whatever, your little orange dot, I'm sorry, today was the final day that we did that, we're not doing it anymore. So right after huddle call, it's done. The picture's taken, we can't change it, okay?
Yeah, and so moving forward, when we start up in the morning at 9 a.m. and we load CTE, it will not be refreshed.
I
So
like that.
everybody understands, it will not be refreshed.
I like that.
Hey,
Just
Jason's
to get clar-
Jason's
just to get
face.
some clarity here, we're supposed to do it like when we're done with our Legion and soon as we're done, okay.
Or
Yeah. Into the night.
anytime before 9 a.m.
Okay.
Not anytime.
Preferably
No,
not,
inside.
preferably not 8:59.
Yeah.
Real quick, we got 2 minutes left.
Okay, so I just wanted to talk about, when I brought it up to you and I spoke to Connor about it, on the dot board, the monthly dot board, adding another dot to the board that's closed, escrow's closed.
Yes.
Because I think that's a big jump from escrow open to escrow closed, so sometimes they fall off.
Yes.
When can we implement that next one?
Yep, starts November 1st.
Okay.
Also, you guys who do referrals out, you need to go to Amelia, because that's not on the MLS, and so we don't get a tracking of that, and you need to make sure she goes to the front desk for a dot, and you need to get a blue dot for our dot board. Same thing for downlines, okay, and you need to own that. Make sure that gets put on the dot board. All right, Bold starts tomorrow, does everybody have their homework done? In the room, show of hands, who has their
Let me
homework
ask
done?
a question, can we bring a computer tomorrow?
Yes, and you should also bring your cell phone. You should
Yeah.
make sure you have
Charger?
access to Co-Realty,
Yeah,
access to Vulcan 7,
Yeah.
or lists.
Okay.
I do, yeah.
Wait,
We
I'm
do it.
sorry.
What do you recommend?
don't-
A list or computer?
A computer, right?
Bring either.
You're gonna have to go around, you're not gonna be able to prospect in the room
You are.
effectively, because there's gonna be a lot of people. And because we're at the convention center, Henderson Convention Center,
Oh, yeah.
not at Green Valley office,
Oh,
there's a lot of other space that we can go to.
But they have Wi-Fi over there, right?
No,
so wait, the location
Oh,
change.
so.
yes,
Okay.
location has
Then a
changed.
list, then we should bring a list.
So should
They
bring a
emailed
list
everybody
then?
this morning, guys, on the location change.
Yeah, and it's on my notes here, so I'm telling you now. It's Henderson Convention Center, which is right off of Water Street downtown by the courthouse.
Oh, yeah, that's right, okay.
I know, it's
So
way
they-
the hell out of the way. I get it. We can complain all we want. I recommend that you guys at least for tomorrow, print lists. And then
Okay.
you're gonna get a good idea what you can and can't do for the next 6 weeks.
Okay.
Cell phone, headsets, computer, lists, rest of your homework done. Okay, everybody had got an email as to what the homework is. For those of you, Bold Business Objective Life Guide Design, it's a 7-week intensive course that almost all of the agents on the team are going to. There's like 150 agents that are going to be at this. It's about personal growth, hitting your accountability. We do it on the team daily anyways, but we go to Bold twice a year, and it's on the team standard that every agent on the team goes to Bold at least once a year. And nobody on the team will do less than 4 transactions. And I have an incentive program for the agents to pay them back the $800 fee, but that's what it costs to go to Bold. And nobody on the team will do less than 4 deals, which, somewhere between $15,000 and $30,000 is what their commission will be in the next 7 to 8 weeks, if they do everything they're supposed to do at Bold. So,
Oh, so it's been decided we're escape rooming, huh?
all right, yeah, moving on.
Hey?
Team building event, November. So, second week in November, probably a Thursday or Friday. Anybody have any objections? I don't even know what I'm getting myself into. I have no idea what this escape room thing
Yeah, you
is.
have to escape.
But that's gonna be the team building event.
You have to escape a room,
said the
is that,
second
is that?
It's
is
like
that
a
what I-
puzzle, you have to, it's a
It's
clue.
a-
Yeah, they like lock.
You work as a
in
team to get out.
It's a team
Are we
building.
okay with the second week on a Friday or a Thursday? 'Cause we
Let's
have
see
to
what the
have it-
availability is.
Thursday's better.
Can we do the weekend?
Okay, now that, they don't, it's just the experience, right? There's no food or anything with it.
No.
No food.
So based on the price, based on the price, I will put a $2,000 budget in, and based on the price for this, I'll contribute whatever's left towards food,
Vidner Grill.
and if there's nothing left, then we'll go to dinner or lunch or whatever it is, and we'll fend for ourselves, but I'll commit $2,000.
Fend for ourselves.
I'll commit $2,000 to the,
I don't think it's that expensive. I think the escape rooms are actually.
I hope not,
cheap.
and I am there, let's get really clear right now, I'm not paying for alcohol. Furious. Furious.
Come on, guys.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
We're like 4
Craig.
minutes past.
Come on.
All right, where are we at with closings?
What about the
Now we're reaching
webinar?
We're trying to hurry up so we can get on the webinar.
Okay, guys, so we have, so far we have 3, we talked about it this morning.
3 escrows.
3 escrows, possibly 4. October closings, we have Craig Promistoso, good job, 2 claps for him. Tracy Adams, Gray Mesa, good job, 2 claps. Miranda Robinson, gold job, 2 claps. Connor Martin, Pueblo Place, good job.
And you're missing
Nope,
one
not yet.
line.
Which one?
That was just
Solid
done
color.
today.
So closed.
Okay, so I took your claps.
Yeah.
She said subtle color.
No, she didn't.
She did, she said Craig, subtle color.
She said
I'm a
Albatrosso.
Oh, so subtle color, 2 claps for Brandon. Jeez.
I'm just saying, like, come on.
Yeah, we closed like 6 between Thursday and Friday last week, so good job, everybody.
And another one's
So
supposed to
these
be-
are available listings, active listings. We do, have 7 of them. One is, a property, or land that I wanna send Fernanda out there to do an open house. But either way, remember open houses, guys, 7 days in advance. Please, 7 days in advance. A lot of you guys have been really good about that, so let's continue with that,
Did
okay?
the other one expire, Craig? Paris? Did it finally expire?
Yeah, expired off. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the upcoming events and classes after the Legion. So let's get, or the training, so let's go ahead and get on that. You all had received an email from me, so you know how to log in. She's also gonna put it up here, so. That's Patty.
That's the term.
So let's go ahead and get onto your brevity, go on to the webinar. Those of you who are shadowing the team, just align yourself with somebody. So move your chairs around to get with somebody who has a computer. And you're gonna learn a little bit about our automation in your system.
Am I blocking something?
Logging in. You guys all received this email.
Can I log
Oh, you got
into
it?
you?
Yeah, I'm
This is
sorry.
automation and revenue, it's a webinar.
I told you.
So you're gonna have to go down to it again. Down to the bottom. There, yeah.
Oh, webinar.
Yeah, okay. It's gonna download the opener, and then you'll be able to go in.
I'll show you.
You're not on there?
You don't have to download it.
You have to download it.
It's unzipping.
Yeah, transaction auto plans. These are not drips, but they are auto
It's just
plans
like
to your
black
system.
seeping through over here.
And then make sure the speaker's on.
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an attendee in listen-only mode.
The thing is with like anything in technology is we can create these documents for you and we can create whatever. But you know, as things change over time, this document might change over time. So I can't guarantee if I do some changes or updates this afternoon to add stuff to it. You might want to, come over, make a new copy, just see if there's anything different about it. But that's a copy if you just want to download it to your Google Drive file. That should work for you. Otherwise, you should be able to see the PDF in the room and just print that off for your own following along and what's going on with the next steps in the system. So this is really, really great. And it looks like you guys need access. I'm sorry. Okay, let me fix that for you real quick. Sorry about that. I can't give absolutely everybody access, so let me change how this link is shareable. So sorry about that. That's my bad. I knew better. I'm going to make it, okay, save. Okay, let me grab this link. Hold on, guys. I got it for you. Let me grab the new link. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry, it's coming to your copy. Okay, so this is the right one. Ignore the other one. There you go. Dropping it in. That's the new one. Use that link. Sorry about that. Okay, so Tay, we're going to go over some things that are exciting about transaction auto plans. And the thing is that a lot of people have said recently that they were afraid to set up action plans or auto plans in their accounts because they weren't sure that they could do the same things that action plans do. Can you kind of tell me, like, if I was worried about action plans and using auto plans instead, and whether or not they have the same kind of capabilities? Can you give a little breakout?
Yeah, so, action plans and auto plans actually do the exact same things. Actually, auto plans are going to be more, involved and actually do a little bit more than the action plans can do. So auto plans can send text messages, they can send emails, and they can also set task reminders.
Right, but I wanna know, like, specifically about, I'm used to action plans, I'm used to their contingencies, I'm used to the task and how they flow in, and I wanna make sure the right team members are doing the right task at the right time. With auto plans, I'm a little afraid it's maybe too automated, and then people aren't getting things done.
Totally, yeah, no, and that's the same, so yeah, you can still make contingent tasks, you can make reoccurring tasks, and what's great about making sure the right team member actually does the task is actually being able to grab and say, I need the transaction coordinator of this transaction to complete this. So what's great about that is you can set up your auto plans to actually, as your team dynamic changes, that you can actually have them change along with it, right? So if you lose your transaction coordinator, you can still go ahead and use that same plan. You don't have to go through and change the whole plan because you'll just have a role assigned to the transaction coordinator to that person.
So you're saying that tasks work the same as they worked before, except now that they're roles-based, the old action plans, you had to set up a different person to do every single task. And then if that person left your team, it kind of screwed up your plan. And then you had to go back through the settings area of your account to that action plan and set every single task again. So now you just set up for a role, and then it assigns to whoever that role is on that transaction.
Exactly, yep, that's totally right.
But then some of the more dynamic things, and we're gonna get into specifically more things, but some of the more dynamic things that are gonna happen are automatically sending text messages or emails from specific roles on your team to specific roles that are not on your team. So in that case, give me an example.
So one might be to a client, so your seller or your buyer. You can also set up different like reminders for their inspection, right? You can say 24 hours before the inspection that you want a reminder email to go out reminding the seller about that inspection.
Great, yeah, there's actually, so it's roles-based too in that case for text messaging and for emails. So this is something that no other system can do. No other system can set up roles-based text messages and emails. So for example, if along the timeline of an auto plan, you want to have the owner of the account send a text message from them to the client saying, hey, I know you're working with agent name, so it has merge fields that you can fill in or placeholder fields. Hey, I know you're working with agent name on transaction 123 Fake Street. A merge field can fill in for the address on the transaction now. I just wanted to see how things are going. So that text message can come from the account owner going to a buyer or seller and just asking them for feedback. And the great thing is about Brivity that no other system does is it gives each person on the team a phone number that can automatically send text messages. So the account owner can now get feedback. Inspect what you expect is what Ben teaches people. Ben says, inspect what you expect. So if you can get direct feedback automatically from clients that are working with your teammates, then you'll actually have a better understanding of how your team is working and functioning, right? And Randy Loomis said he loves TIG. So we are watching the question and answers. Again, we're gonna dive right into this manual, so I hope by now everyone has a copy of the manual. I wish I could delete the first link that I put into the chat area. Ignore that one, go to the second link, download that one. And if anybody let me know for some reason that second link doesn't work. Otherwise, there's a PDF attached of the same thing. This is what we're gonna follow along for. As I begin to share my screen here, screen 2, in an account, and we're gonna go over all the things. So don't worry, if you're a brand new user in Brivity, we're gonna take you through really everything, what you need to know from beginning to end to get everything set up with your transaction auto plans. And I know we're only talking about transaction auto plans today. You also have people auto plans, and we'll go over what those are. So you'd apply one to a person's contact record for following up with them, like a lead, or you could have one apply to a transaction to follow up with that particular transaction, right? So let's see, oh, that's funny. These 19 messages are those Google share requests that they were trying to push through. Okay, so we're in an account, and everyone should at this point be able to see my screen and hear me, if everybody can see our screen, in this case. Again, Tay Daniels and Donna Reed here. And if you guys have questions as we go along, we're gonna try to watch the room for questions and answer as many as possible. Otherwise, if it ends up being a lot, we might have to follow up afterward. Okay, so if you go through that training manual, I'm gonna jump down to the second page. The first page is the title page. Second page we're going to is what's the difference between Brivity CRM versus platform? Because right now, in order to get into transaction auto plans, because they have text messaging included, they are currently only a part of Brivity platform. So before we got any further into anything, if you are a CRM only user, I apologize. That it's not part of the CRM. And so if you look there's a bunch of check boxes on that second page for what's included and what's not included. But really overall, like Tay, what would you say with platform? Like what are the biggest things that aren't being included in on a CRM only site?
Yeah,
probably the products?
Yeah, so as far as the products go, yes, so one of the big ones is going to be, Brivity CMA, and so what you can do with Brivity CMA is make CMA reports based off of Ben Kenny's 555, so you take 5 actives, 5 pendings, and 5 sold to give an accurate home valuation. You can also do market reports that are based off of an area, so a neighborhood, or a city, or a range.
That's like the last 30-day trends, market snapshot of an area.
Market snapshot's gonna let them know actives, pendings, and solds in that area and what's happened in the last 30 days, so great for sellers.
Team websites,
Team websites.
those are included in the
Yep,
platform.
so subdomains, yep, so each of your agents can have their own subdomain.
Well, first there's the team website.
Oh yeah, team website, and then you can create the subdomains of that website.
So agents get their own website when you have a Brivity platform. So there's a team one where you're generating leads for the team and distributing them. And then there's one that's for agents. It's an exact replication of your website that will allow them to get their own leads with their own contact information. So it's an exact replication of your website, but it's their contact info all over it that they can share out or put in their email signature or do advertising, right?
Listing alerts are a big one as well.
Yeah, listing alerts, that's
listing
big.
alerts, you have to keep your buyers up to date with what's going on in the market, with new properties that are gonna meet their criteria. We have Quickly. Quickly is another great tool. It's a text-to-lead tool. You have your keyword, and it sends out information from inquiries on your listings. We'll send out the information from the MLS to their cell phone.
So someone could probably test by sending demo to 59559, and we're gonna find your GPS location and send you a list of houses around you for sale. So you don't need flyers on your listings anymore. That would automatically send them listings around them for sale. Your listing by default being in GPS location at the top of that list. And then we've got other things like valuation sites.
Your Brivity valuation, seller landing pages aimed at gathering someone's information that's looking to find out what their home might be worth.
Right, so those are kind of the biggest things that are part of the platform versus CRM only. So I just kind of want to cover that really quickly. Other things too, then in CRM only, if you're just looking at that, the things that you're really missing big is listing alerts, transaction auto plans, and people auto plans. But you can see there's some other things in there too, like text messaging, calling out of Brivity. So there are some CRM features that are missing in that case. We do have a question on this section before we move forward to getting everything set up and seeing how it works. Are transaction auto plans scheduled to be added to CRM only clients, or are they specifically planned to be exclusive to platform users? That's a great question, Casey, and they are scheduled to be, or I wouldn't say scheduled, they are planned to be released, because I don't know what the schedule is. They are planned to be released to CRM only clients, but we have to take out the functionalities that we built in for text messaging in the system. And that's a really big cost for us. It costs us money for people to automatically send text messages and really an unlimited amount of text messages through the automations of the system. So we have to basically remove a third of the capabilities before we can push that to CRM only clients. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense there. Okay, so going on to the next page there, it's called Part 1, Fundamentals in CRM Settings. So there are some things that are important, and now this is where my screen's gonna become handy, where I'm sharing my screen. And again, you guys should all see a CRM where Ben's name is in the upper right that we're gonna be working through today, and I'll maximize it just a little bit here. So one of the first things that we need to set up in your CRM settings is in the upper right of your account, every individual on your team should go to their profile section. And in their profile section, they want to make sure that their information is correct. And you're going to do that, click on your name in the upper right, go to profile, and then click edit details. The reason for this and making sure that your information is correct here is really just these items. So just these bullet pointed items. You want to make sure your mobile phone number is set in there so that the text messaging works to send notifications to your phone, right? So that's a really important feature. Make sure your mobile phone number is set into your profile section so we can get text to your phone. Of course, while you're there, you might as well make sure your email is correct and make sure your picture is correct, obviously your name. Really, everything else in here isn't really that important to put in. So in your profile, like, you know, if you want to put in your marital status and your dog's name and your, you know, other information, your home address, you don't have to worry about that other people can see that. None of that's publicly facing. However, in this section, it is important to note that your Brivity website is dynamically pulling the primary, so this little dot right here is actually for the primary phone number. So if you want that to show on your website, that's what's going to show. The name here, the picture, the email address, and the phone number are going to show on the website under the team roster area. So that's just important. Just set that up, and then we're going to go to the account section. And there's some big settings in here you need to make sure are done as well. So as you're sliding down through to the next page, if you're following through, it's titled Account Settings. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to click on the name and then drop down to Account. And in Account, I'll tell you why we need to fill out all the different things in here. We're going to first start with the tab for Personal on the far left. And what are some of the important things to make sure you set up here?
So some of the important things are going to be that routing number. You want to make sure that that's selected for your mobile phone number because that routing number does need to be able to receive text messages and receive calls. So that's why we set it up in our profile as our mobile phone number, and then we're going to select the routing number here.
The reason for that is because maybe on the profile page, you set the primary button, that little radio button, because you don't want your mobile phone number to show on your website, right? So maybe you don't want your mobile phone number to show on the website. Just put your mobile number in, because you do need to do that, and then select work number or something like that on the profile page. So on the profile page, set whatever you want to show on the website. But over here, make sure that's your mobile phone number that you're setting for routing. So that's where we're sending notifications, text messages, and things like that. Also, you need to set in an email signature in here, because in the email signature section, that's where you're setting up to make sure that as emails automate from Brivity, that your signature applies. So as you write email templates or send emails in Brivity, this signature instantly applies if you are the person that emails are coming from. So that's an important step before doing audit plans. Yeah. Other than that, you might notice at the bottom here, there are some settings to make sure that you get notified when you receive a new lead. And you can turn those on or off how you want to, but those are pretty good to do. Lastly, you do want to sign in with Google. So you definitely want to sign in with Google. What that's going to do is help ensure the deliverability of your emails. So Brivity can send emails without you signing in with Google. And currently we only integrate with Google as an email system. We don't connect up with other email systems. That means that when you send emails, if you don't connect, Brivity can still send emails on your behalf. If somebody hits reply, they'll still be able to reply back to your email. But we won't be able to record the responses from people if you don't sign in with Google. We won't be able to see those responses because they're going back to your email. And if you don't connect, we don't have permission to see those emails and record them for you in your contact timeline. Lastly, when you send an email out of Brivity, there is, if you don't sign in with Google, we don't have permission to send emails as you. So we can't use your email address to send it. And so what that means is if somebody hits reply and then looks at the edit information on that reply address, so if they reply and they see the edit information, it'll say that it's from messages@brivity.com. even though the reply to is gonna place your email into the reply to button. But if you do connect with Google, then we have permission to send emails on your behalf, and then it'll say replied from whatever your email address is, or replied to, like, the whole thing will look like it's directly out of your email. So do that, make sure that you've got that connected, because you want those emails to come through looking like they actually came from you. Questions here, Todd asked, mobile number is Brivity number or my personal cell? Mobile number means your actual personal cell mobile number. But yeah, so mobile number is your mobile number. Best practices for TCs that don't use their personal cell phone for work. Now, see, this routing number only is, like I said, if you go to the profile page, you can set up which thing is gonna be showing on your website. So it's not a publicly facing phone number at all. So getting notifications.
It shouldn't be, as long as it's, you know, you should be able to still put your personal number if you want it in there. I mean, the public isn't going to see that number, that's just gonna be the one you receive those text messages back from your birthday.
Yeah, it's really just for notifications and routing. So you're probably not gonna have a whole lot of transaction coordinators that are sending text messages at all. If you do wanna set that up, it's gonna look like it's coming from the Brivity number. So that's probably even what Todd was kind of asking there. And so maybe we need to talk about how text messages look. And so I kind of wanna wait to talk about that when we get over to phone settings. But how text messages look, and maybe that'll give you a better idea, Deanna, on how you want to work that or use that. In some cases too, if you're using like VAs or ISAs, VAs being virtual assistants or inside sales agents that maybe don't use their personal cell phone number either, a lot of teams will set up a Google phone number that, you know, can hit their phone and notify them of things, but isn't their actual phone number. So that's a possibility, but then you're kind of like running around with 3 phone numbers, your mobile, the Brivity number, and a Google number. So we can kind of go over some best practices with that as we get to how phone settings work. The call routing option solves the problems that I've been having, thank you. Oh, good, okay, thanks Randy for the update. Do we just sign in with Google once, or do we have to do it every time we log into Brivity? That's a good question, Casey. You just sign in once, so once you do this connection, I'm gonna have to bump this, then I can do this connection. It's popping on my other screen. So I pick, you want it to be the login email address for Brivity, whatever that is. So it's, start up again, so I knocked it off. Once you do this connection, it should always be connected unless you change your password in Gmail or Google email, because you might have a G Suite email with your personal URL. So G Suite emails are a great way to do this too, so you don't have an @Gmail account, right? But once you do this allowance, it should be set to always have it connected unless you change your password, so that could be a problem there. Okay, Christine asked, can we connect 2 emails to one personal account? No, you cannot. Our best suggestion in that case is to have them all dump into one email that you're connecting, because all we're seeing in accounts in a contact record is we're tracking all incoming and outgoing emails to your Gmail account. So it's literally a mirror image of your sent and received folder. And if you ever disconnect your email, so you can see here I have the option now to disconnect this email, then we will no longer be able to see those emails at all. So the email settings are just a reflection. It's not an actual seeing your emails. We're gonna see every email you've ever sent to anybody, and it's a reflection. If you disconnect, then we'll no longer see those. Or if you change your password. Can each team member sync with email? Yes, every team member will sync their email. And I might have to move forward. When an email is sent via AutoPlans, it will show my Google Sent folder. It will show your email, but it will look like an email you actually sent. So I think it's Joe that asked that, and Hernan asked that. If you send an email from Brivity AutoPlans, it doesn't show your sent folder to people. It wouldn't do that. It looks like it actually sent. Oh, and then he's asking if it shows in his Google Sent folder.
Yes, as long as you have that connection.
Yeah, out of AutoPlans. Now, if you send a mass email out of Brivity, we use a different system. And so if you send a mass email out of Brivity, no, it does not show up in your sent folder. Yes, from AutoPlans, it will show in your sent folder in Google. sorry, sometimes interpreting, messages can be difficult. We've gotten some pushback from our agents on the Brivity phone number. When a client's replying to the auto text, the agent has to reply from their own cell. And that's gonna be resolved, Jill, with the, new app. We have I think a good 50 users currently testing the beta app, and so we should have that approved by Apple pretty soon, and Android as well. We've got lists for both of those. So that should be resolved with the new app. You can text message and call directly from the app. We use Google Voice for everything and want our Brivity number to match that. Okay, so yeah, in Brivity you just make that your primary phone number in the profile section, and maybe even make that your routing number. So that works, Joe. And we're gonna have to probably move forward. Multiple numbers is undesirable.
Oh, he wants his actual Brivity number to.
Oh, that's what he's saying, the Google number. Okay, so look at, any system, cannot control every single phone, provider in North America. So we sell Brivity across North America, and we can't, for your users, take over, control of their phones. If you want us to automate text messages out, if you want us to track the incoming responses from consumers, to be able to send messages from different roles on your team, it's only possible to give everybody a phone number. So that's an important point to bring up. I'm glad you brought it up, Joe, because people have said that before, but it is absolutely impossible to control every phone provider and every phone system that's out there to send text messages or track. We can't take privacy rights from your users as your team grows. We can't take their privacy rights to read their emails and track them, or text messages and track them. And so it's just not possible. So what you do is you tell your team, it's just like buying, Grasshopper is a phone system. There's a bunch of different phone systems out there. For all of them to work, you always have to get a phone line with that system. So just like Google Voice, you had to get a phone line with Google Voice in order for it to call and text on your behalf, or for you to use it to call and text. So it's no different than any other phone system. So consider it your office line, and you give each user in your system an office line, but your office line has superpowers that an office line typically doesn't have, and it can text message and even automatically send text messages on your behalf. So I hope that explains that phone thing a little bit for you. And I'm gonna move on forward. So we might have to just connect with a lot of you guys afterward. So look, the next thing, I gotta follow along in the manual, because I can be really bad about following a set plan. You know, I'm kind of scattered and want to be everywhere, right? So the next thing is business settings.
So business, this is only gonna be, available to the account owner, just so you do know. So you do need to be logged into the account owners to see the business tab. So if you go ahead and click on the business tab, what you will see is your time zone. It is important that you do set your time zone, so that way when you're choosing when emails and text messages are sent, that they are sent based on your time zone as well.
Okay, so yeah, the business tab is only accessible from the account owner's account to be able to set up things that are universal to all team members. Also in this section, just to kind of review what this section is about, it's making sure that on your teammates' marketing, that the team name, brokerage name, website, phone number, and address, all of this is ending up showing over on your website correctly. Now ignore the logo area in there. If you're a platform user, it doesn't really do anything right now. We put your logo on your website for you, but the other information is set standard things for your entire team to show on your website or on their marketing. Okay, so the next thing down, and we're just kind of going through here, and if you guys ever just, go in, honestly, go from tab to tab, go left to right, and that's what we're doing today, is we're kind of going left to right through here. So the next thing is setting up your calling in Brivity, and actually, it should be the website, but we're gonna follow the manual. So the IDX configuration is your agent's websites. So part of the thing about setting up these items is because Brivity has messaging in email templates and in your text messaging templates that can automatically fill in things like hi, contact name, thanks for visiting our website, can be a merge field that fills in. Phone numbers are automatically sending from teammates from their office Brivity line. Phone numbers are, all of this has to be set up for everything to work in the auto plans and for merge fields to fill in correctly. So if we jump over to phone settings, This is a little bit confusing for people because Joe was talking about the fact that you have to set up a Brivity phone number, which is different than each of your teammates' actual phone number. And that's because if Devin LaSalle leaves our team, we no longer have control over his phone number. That's his actual mobile phone number. And he gets to continue communicating with all those leads, the 300 leads that I gave him in the last 6 months. And I have no control over knowing what happened with those leads or taking over that line. We give you a line that you can control, and if those messages are going out to Devin's leads and say he leaves your team, you can still control and see the messages and communications that happen through the text message chains with Devin and his contacts. So we're giving you control to be able to better utilize communications on your team and be able to inspect what you expect from your teammates. And so what happens here, and it's hard to tell because we've already set up a lot of ours in our fake account, but on the left here, we're gonna start with the routing number.
So you'll go ahead and select it from the drop down, you'll select your mobile phone number. Like we said before, if you don't see it there, you just need to add it in your profile and it will be showing in the drop down. Once you have it selected in the drop down.
Now, wait, first, it's possible that Izzy has set in this case his mobile phone number on his work line. Is that really, you can go ahead and select a different phone number. So, you know, if you were going down and you were finding, I think the phone number is set with somebody else. It's actually not letting me select a number.
I think it's because we had those before, they made you
Oh,
select
and
the
then-
routing numbers.
Oh, yeah, so it has to be a mobile line now. Okay, so it has to be a mobile line, because I actually did this earlier with David Wiggs, and I set him up, but first I made that his mobile phone number, and then I wanna come over here, so it does have to be the mobile phone number. I thought you could select if it was anything and you knew, like, oh, he just put it in the wrong field, so that's not the case. So, next you go to,
And then you go add and you'll put in your area code, that you would like your number to be from.
so first you need to choose your country. Yeah, so if you're Canadian, we do connect up with Canadian area codes to find a Canadian area code. And what we're doing in this case is setting up a Brivity phone number, so the system can automatically text and receive calls, and we're gonna talk about exactly how it works. But set up, my hometown is 803, so I'm gonna set 803. And you'll see a first set of numbers, like really, that one looks pretty awesome, right? Otherwise, you can actually keep hitting search if you don't like that set of numbers, and keep searching until you do see a set of numbers that you wanna go with. So those numbers are changing every time I hit search. So you'll wanna do that for each team member, set a mobile phone number so they're getting notifications, add a Brivity phone number, and then Brivity can start doing auto plans and things with them. Okay? Any questions? Oh wait, let's talk about how it works. Okay, so how it works.
So with your Brivity phone number, once you have it selected, then you can easily be able to do one-off text messages or one-off calls. If you
Now
are,
what number are they gonna see?
they will see the Brivity number. If you're calling or texting from inside the system, it will be coming from that Brivity number. If you're calling, it's going to go ahead and call your cell phone. You'll pick up on your cell phone and then it will call out to the lead.
Okay, so hold on, I'm confused. So if I'm calling through Brivity, okay, so you need to call through Brivity.
Yeah, on your computer, you would have the lead pulled up and you would click on the phone icon.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over here and click on the phone icon. Okay, so once you've set up calling and texting out of Brivity, you'll see that your SMS is lit up. So if you've never set that up before, it's gonna look grayed out like this, right? Click here, and then you'll see where you can write notes.
You would then click on the other phone icon again,
There you
top
go.
right-hand corner. Yep, it will then call to your phone.
Oh, it should be calling my phone. Oh, see, there it's calling my phone, right? So that's the, my Brivity phone number that's calling me. So you can actually set that on your phone as Brivity calling. So you know that your phone number is calling you. So I'm gonna hit end there, or I could have hit end on my phone if I had a conversation, then I can log a call. So it's tracking the time in that case. Is it recording?
It does not record, so you still want to leave notes about, you want to choose the call outcome, so whether you got a hold of them, you know, if they were left busy, you know, left message, you can leave a note about what you left a voicemail about if you would like. So that way it is then recorded in the interactions as a call logged, and you can then, it is visible to everybody that you were making, those calls to.
Okay, and then what if Joe Blaine calls that number back?
So if Joe calls it back, what will happen is, he'll call your Brevity number and it will ring on your, routing number, your cell phone number that you have set up.
Okay, so wait, I'm confused. So it'll ring on my cell phone?
Correct.
Okay. So when somebody incoming calls or text messages, what happens?
With the text message, you will, they'll text your Brevity number, it will send a text notification to your phone about the lead that texted you and the message that they sent you. But in order right now to text them back, you do need to be logged into the system. So you
So like on my phone, how do I do that?
We can do mobile optimized right now through a web browser, or we also are building out the app.
So I open my browser on my phone for right now.
For right now, and then once we have the app released to everybody, you will be able to just log into the app and you will be able to text from inside the app.
Okay, yeah, and with the push notifications that come out from the Brevity app, you should be able to text message directly from that. You click on that push notification. It's kind of like when Facebook sends you an instant messenger message, then that can, yeah. Somebody asked about reassigning the phone number. Yes, it isn't possible for you to do it, but it's possible for us to keep that phone number for someone on your team. So you have to contact support and see how we can help you do that. But there are a couple of things about like Brevity that we've made a promise to people, and the phone number is one of those things. Ben has promised that your data is your data. You can always take it with you no matter where you go. We will never use it. It will never be used against you. It'll never be touched. However, also the phone number might be something that your team regularly gets to using, or if you're in the system quite often, you want to make sure you don't miss anything. If you ever need to take that with you, we can give you that phone number. So the system that we use to do text messaging and calling out of Brevity, we can set up with them that we can transfer ownership. So you need to contact support again for that too. Okay, so again, sorry, I'm going to move on forward. Let's go to the next thing, which was the websites, agent websites. So we talked about the fact that you might have a website. So this one's mine, our bank account. Used to being on webinars by myself. So here's mine that I normally log into, but hey, I don't think that you have a subdomain.
I don't, not on yours, but I always use Devon's.
Yeah, I always use Devon's. So mine is mywahome.com. Devon is devon.mywahome.com. So for each of your team members, they're going to get an exact replication of your website, and I shouldn't be logged in because I'm not sure that team member.
I already created a ticket about that.
Oh.
It's not more.
Okay. We break our site, because Tay and I both teach the IDX Builder webinar, and we've been through doing like every change possible known to man, and we break it quite regularly. Okay, so in here, let's see, I'm gonna pick this listing. It's like a pretty one. So Devon's information should be showing on the right, and any leads that come through there will go directly for him. And the contact us page should be all about Devon. You can see his contact info there. At the bottom of the website, the footer should be showing his phone number, email address. So these are websites for your agents, but it's not any different than your website, except that it has their contact info and send leads to them so they can do their own marketing and stuff out of here. Okay, so that's what it is. Let's go set it up. So I'm going to the account section again, back to the account section. And this is a little confusing because it's called
IDX configuration.
Right. So the reason why it's called that is because we have plans to put in a whole lot of things in there that you can configure about your Brevity IDX website. But for right now, all that's in there is the website creation of it for agents. So it's also called subdomain, so AKA. Who doesn't have one yet? James, maybe? James has one? Brevity user, whoever that is.
Does not have one.
Okay. So let's say this person's name is Brevity. We normally suggest making just the first name in there, and that's it. The shorter websites, generally are easier for people to remember or whatever, come back to. So I just put Brevity there. Then
It's also very important, you do put an agent bio in there as well for the.
But I don't have a bio.
If you don't have a bio, you can just put something
I mean,
like.
I've asked, and I've asked, and I've asked, and Brittany will not write a bio about themselves and give it to me.
Then that's totally fine. You can put something like coming soon, or you could just put what they are, you could just put real estate agent,
Right? Or you could say, yeah.
Description about them.
So, yeah, I mean, getting bios, getting agents to write bios, and then editing them up if you need to make them look good and stuff can be like herding cats. So don't sweat it. But if you don't fill this in, it will not work correctly. You have to put something in the agent bio area, hit save changes, and then you're good to go. There's a little question mark over here that says, cannot be skipped, please don't do it. So make sure you get that filled in. Okay, so, let's kind of just glance through and see if we've got some questions about email signatures. I already have an email signature on my Gmail account. Yes, you still have to add your signature to Brivity if it's going to send emails on your behalf, because we can't jump into your Gmail account and steal your email signature and copy it to Brivity. So you do have to add one to Brivity to send emails out of Brivity, otherwise you won't have one. So it's an important step of setup. Okay, so again, sorry, there's about 10 questions in there that I can't answer right now. I'm gonna have to move forward. Next, we're going to, the next page is actually titled Account Settings Checklist. And it's just saying, like, if you've already done these things, check these boxes. If you want to write some notes about it before moving forward, you can. Circle the things you still need to do if you haven't done it yet, but you can do all of those things. And in getting to the next section, before we get into creating an auto plan, which is really what we want to do, is go through the steps and what's important to set up there. But we want to talk about some of the things that aren't available. And so there's a little graphic there on action plans versus auto plans and what are the differences. So for those of you that have questions maybe about, you know, having the same capability that the old action plans had.
So as far as capabilities goes that the old action plans have, it's gonna do everything. It's gonna have recurring tasks, it's gonna have contingent tasks. It's gonna be able to make a task contingent also on like a date, a custom date.
Now it's a custom date.
Yeah, now it's a
Before.
custom, it wasn't a custom
Yeah.
date as well. So now you have custom dates, which is great. You can also send emails and text messages. But the text messages, and that's got something that's gonna be new. Even emails to transaction plans are actually new as well. Before, our transaction action plans were just task-based, where now you can actually send emails and text messages through them. So that's really gonna be a big difference. You can also preview an auto plan. That's a big step up from the action plans where you couldn't preview them. It was kind of like apply it and then just make sure that you know this is the plan that you want, right? So
Right, and like, you know, then if, let's say, a contract that was pending, if the buyer got cold feet or for whatever reason they canceled the transaction, the contract, maybe because of inspection reasons, then you had all these tasks that were in there that you couldn't just like wipe out.
it's a lot
You had
manual
to,
process.
a lot of manual,
deleting them.
and then put the new action plan back up or whatever the next step is. So there's a lot of cool automations for stopping, starting auto plans, removing all the tasks for one, all that kind of stuff. So, and getting to the next page, and I probably should have named that part 2. So the next page apparently I named part 2. Sorry about that. Part 2, settings up. This to be setting up the automations. Well, I fixed that for people that download it moving forward. Sorry about that. So part 2, setting up the automations. And I really like to call it that because if you look into your account, once you've set up like general settings in your account, the settings section, it's a little bit confusing. You have account settings, then you have settings. In the settings section, you've got gears there. And the gears are showing that this is what makes it all turn and work and everything. So this is the automations section of your account. And maybe it should be, well, maybe we'll tell Josiah, maybe we should
Title something.
Yeah, title it that. So in this section, we're gonna go again, just like we did through the account section, from left to right, in setting up things here. So in settings, first we start with custom roles. You do need to have your custom roles and custom dates set up in Brivity to make a lot of your automations for auto plans kick out. Why?
Just to make sure, like, so, for like, placeholders, right? If you said my lender or my transaction coordinator, and you used an email placeholder in there, if that doesn't match up with something that you have set, then it's not going to send. So it's just important that you have everyone set for roles, or at least all your different custom roles set as well. Just so you can apply those, if you have a director of operations, they need to be on every transaction, you need to add in a custom role for director of operations.
So we're gonna do that by going to settings, we're gonna go over to roles on the far left, and you're gonna set up all the custom roles in here that you might need to have. So we need to talk about what these different role types are, because you have 3 different role types. And so this is what Tay was talking about, especially in the first one, is that your team roles. Now what's a team role?
A team role is gonna be anybody that's a user inside of your CRM that's actively, so whether they're a buyer's agent, listing agent, transaction coordinator, director of operations, anyone that's gonna be directly on your team logging in using the system's going to be a team.
Okay, let me think of a team role that maybe I don't have there yet. So maybe virtual assistant, so you might have one of those. So let's say a virtual assistant would be someone who is a user in the system. And so maybe some of you just call it VA, right? And in that case, you might set a default role, or you might not. So maybe you have more than one virtual assistant.
You want to set a default.
Right, so it kind of depends on, let's say, do I have 2 of these on my team that I might, so normally like a transaction coordinator, you're just gonna apply one transaction coordinator to one transaction, right? So I don't need to set up 2 roles in that case, but if I have 2 virtual assistants, I might need to set up 2 roles if they both get applied to one transaction. So for transactions, they all have to be individual roles per transaction. That's one reason why, I don't know if you've looked over to the client roles, that we have buyer, buyer 2, buyer 3, because you might have like a primary buyer on an estate sale, and that's the primary person you're always communicating with. And so you have all your text messages and emails going to that, what do they call it? The person who's got in charge of an estate. It's the executor. Executor. So and that person might be the person, but you don't need messages going to buyer 2, buyer 3, buyer 4, and buyer 5, because you don't need, or seller in that case, seller 1, seller 2, seller 3. So you might not need all those sisters and brothers' input on making decisions. You just need that one person. So we made this very specific to set up each person that's going to go into a transaction to a particular role. So if you add a team role, add virtual assistant. If you have more than one, and per transaction you're only going to apply one virtual assistant to that transaction, then don't use a default person. So, but if you have a transaction coordinator that's always the transaction coordinator on every transaction, then pick that person as the default person. The description of the role doesn't really do anything right now.
No, not really.
Now, is this transaction coordinator someone that would always apply to a listing?
Yeah, so you could also do that, so that way when, anytime you add a new listing, it will then pop up transaction coordinator
Right.
as a role for you.
But if your transaction coordinators only work pending listings, and maybe you're not going to apply them there, and maybe you'll apply them later manually within the transaction when you're ready for them to take over the management of the contract itself. So in that case, I would only set the buyer pending for this transaction coordinator that only does pending transactions. I hope that makes sense, and then that way when I go to create the transaction, he will already be on it, and I don't need to set him on it, right? Otherwise, again, you don't have to set anybody there, it is optional. So that's team roles, they're users in the system. Collaborator roles, who is that?
Collaborator role would be anybody that works with you on a transaction, but isn't necessarily a lead. So a collaborator would be like a lender, maybe a home inspector, a title company. You might add all of those people onto your transaction so you can keep track of, how many deals you're doing with those types of people, but not.
But I don't want the painter or home inspector to see anything about my transaction.
Correct, so you don't have to, you can still add them onto the transaction, it's just once you are adding on, you're gonna see a checkbox that says gets updates. If you click that checkbox, then they would be able to view the transaction and get email updates. But if you just add them on and you don't check the box, they won't receive anything.
Okay, So what Taya's talking about, I think we both skipped ahead a little bit there. If you're a new user of the system, you can give your clients and collaborators access to transactions if you want them to be able to see what's going on and keep up with the transaction. So I'm actually searching an article for you. I'm gonna throw out, in case you, again, you're brand new to Brivity and you haven't used this yet, then I wanna make sure you know what it is. Client view. Sorry, trying to pull this up. Okay, so you can see step by step exactly what happens as you add a collaborator or a client to a transaction. But you actually don't have to add a client, you don't have to give them access. So there's a checkbox that you choose if you give them access or not. Otherwise, what's the point of adding a collaborator and not giving them access? If they're not gonna see anything, if they're not gonna get any updates, what's the point of adding a collaborator?
You know, another reason is, you know, for, like I was saying with those email, placeholders, when you set up your email, you could say, I want to add in my lender's, name, right? So you could say, have you reached out to Bob yet, or has Bob reached out to
So
you?
it's gonna automatically send the name or email address or phone number of the lender associated with that transaction out to that client. So that's one way. Another reason to add people to a transaction is because maybe you want the plumber, the roofer, the property inspector, all the people that helped you put together the transaction, and you want them to be visible to the client so that they can see the effort that you put in and the people that you helped get together to make all of this possible for them. By the end of their transaction, a client's gonna be blown away by being able to see all the people that you put together. It also makes it easy so that in 3 years' time, they say, who was that painter, who was that property inspector, who was the attorney on our transaction? You can look into the transaction and see everybody that was involved, and give them their contact information. Lastly, when you're in a transaction, and you'll see all this as you're moving forward, I know we're just setting up auto plans today, but I wanted you to know the importance of this. When you're in a transaction, you can click on anybody's name, like the painter name, and then it'll take you to their contact record. And in their contact record in Brivity, it'll show you every property they've ever painted for you before, every property they've ever plumbed if it's a plumber. So you'll see that, you know, aggregated underneath their
Every escrow
contact
they've ever
profile
closed for
in the
you.
system.
Every home they've
So
ever
that's pretty
inspected
important to
for
know, and I
you.
threw you guys a quick link to an article that explains all the steps of what happens and exactly what clients see within their client portal if you do give them access to see anything. Again, if you don't give them access to see anything, they don't see anything. Okay, so those are collaborators, right? They're not the clients, but they still help the transaction. They're also not users of the system. Then you have clients, and that's pretty
Buyer, seller, landlord, renter.
Okay. So you can add new client roles if you wanted to say something else and you don't want to say buyer two, you want to say something else, you can make up whatever you'd like there, edit them. So these are all editable, or you can remove them.
Collaborators though.
Okay,
No.
I think there was a
Anybody who has
question
permission
that
to
popped
do
on
it.
that specific subject. Will the client be able to see the collaborator's contact information? No, they actually can't see. They can see all the contact information for any teammates that you add on the transaction. So if you had a transaction coordinator, a marketing manager, the team owner, it's always a good idea. Ben's teams always put him as the team owner. He is part of the team, even though he may not directly be handling that transaction. They do have access to the contact info for all teammates, but not for any of the collaborators. That's your choice to send them. Okay. So then we go into dates. So custom dates is the next thing if you're following on in the pamphlet. It's the next, actually, if you go through that workbook, under custom roles, there's a whole page there on suggested custom roles that we've seen before that you might want to use, and you can circle the ones that apply to your team. And so there's ones for teammates, there's ones for collaborators, there's ones for your clients, and then there's spaces there in the workbook to be able to fill out if you need to add new roles to any of those. So this will just kind of help you put this all together. So next, custom dates. What might be kind of hard to tell in this section is that there are 3 kinds of custom dates here. So 3 kinds of custom dates here. You want to explain them?
Yeah, we have people dates, which would be, or person dates, anything that applies to a lead. So a home anniversary date, birthday, maybe their kid's birthday.
Or sphere. So in that case, you probably don't know a lead's birthday quite yet.
Yeah, so sphere, as
Yeah.
well. So anybody who's a contact, I guess I should say, contact inside your system. And so those are gonna be those custom dates, and once you add them in here, you will automatically see that on the ending contacts page, then when you hit edit details, you'll see a spot to fill in that date for that.
Okay, I just wanna look at adding, or I'll just edit this one, pet birthday. So when you're adding one, these are the fields that you're gonna look at. It's just, putting in the name of it, and then is it going to apply to a person, a transaction, or a project? And you might have noticed that something different happens there. So maybe we should go over the transaction ones first before going off over that difference. So even over here, if you click on new custom date, these are the fields that you're gonna see, name, and then what type. So transactions.
So transactions are gonna be any dates that have to do with your transaction, right? So we have some default ones in there, like appraisal date, close date, date listed, home inspection date, right? But we know those aren't the only dates that you need to keep track of. You might have a final walkthrough date, utilities reminder, yeah, so there's a ton of different other dates that you might need to add in here. You can add those custom dates. Once you add them in, they will be showing on your transactions for you to be able to fill in. They also will show on your calendar once you have it.
So you have a Brivity calendar on the left over here that shows all the different dates associated with any transaction. And those would all reference these transactional dates in your system, and they'll populate on your calendar for you to see it over there. One that I absolutely know that everyone needs to set into their system is that in due diligence date. So that's whatever your due diligence or inspection date ending, that date has always been important for agents before that they asked for before we had custom dates. And now we have them, so be sure to add that one in for sure. Then I see this visibility thing, and there's like one that's not. Why is that one different?
The reason for that is because that doesn't probably pertain to the client. It might in a way, but you don't really want them to be have it visible to them.
Okay, so this is visible to the client or not if I gave them access to the transaction?
Correct, yes. So if you grant your clients login access and email updates, if you have it visible as the custom date on there, they will be able to see that custom date when they log into their system.
Okay, so you can choose to add custom dates and not allow the client to see those dates. You can also say choose to add dates and allow them to see it, so they know that upcoming date in the portal is an upcoming date. Haven't seen any questions pop, so I'm just gonna keep going. And then project dates, what's that about?
Projects are gonna be anything that has to do with their business, but not necessarily a specific lead or a specific transaction. So a project might be something like a customer appreciation event. So maybe it's, I had a couple people that, they were running an event at a fair, right? So that fair is gonna be multiple days, right? So you could add in, the start date for that fair and the end date for that fair. Or maybe you're only doing 3 days, right, at the fair, right? But the fair is for a week, so you can put the end date that your booth stops at the fair as well.
Okay, so start date and end date are the only ones that we've initially provided in there, but you could have other dates that maybe like milestone dates that are important for, I guess one of my favorite projects, so again, just to kind of like clarify, there are people dates and those will show up in a person's contact record. Transaction dates show up in a transaction record. Now, projects are over here, and if you haven't seen before, you click on the word to get to the section, you click on the plus sign to create a new project or a new transaction, if it was over there in that section, or a new person, you click on that plus sign. And when you add this, you have a start date and end date, but maybe you need some other custom dates within there to complete this particular project. So like, I like to think of like a home, I like to think of a neighborhood takeover party. Where say, like, if you have a neighborhood in mind that you want to take over, then you should, a good idea is to take a couple of blocks at a time and put together a plan of letting all the sellers or homeowners on that 2-block area know that you're coming with a wood chipper and all your teammates are going to be wearing the same shirt and, send postcards and you can have all these tasks and things lined up within the project to complete this event. So it's really made for events, but really any project that's not a transaction or not a person. So creating new custom dates, in that case, the only one that really changes, right? So if I go to project in person, it looks the same. Transaction, do you want this to be visible in the client portal? Now, visibility, if you see visibility signs throughout the CRM, it always references the client portal and or collaborator portal if you gave someone access to that portal. Okay, on the next section, so there's also, in your booklet, there's sections there that allow you to circle dates that might be important to you, and we've given you some suggestions to help you build out your auto plans. If you scroll down a little bit further, oh my gosh, we're already an hour in. I'm so sorry, guys, I didn't realize we're already an hour in. We do wanna be
So much
thorough.
information, yeah.
Yeah. And scrolling down a little bit further, you have property types, so I'm gonna go over this quickly, because right now, property types don't actually have anything much to do with auto plans and creating them. But they do help you to automate your business. When you start a new transaction, you're always gonna select what type of transaction that is, and based on that type, when you say go over to the next screen and you open the transaction, the fields that are in there reference specifically this property type. So you can create custom fields that will be specific to a farm property, because you always want acreage to show in an active farm listing, right? Then you wanna create that over here. So you go into a new property type, and you can add as many of those fields as you want to have custom field names within any transaction to make sure that people fill in acreage, or they fill in well, or septic, yes or no, right? So you can have that kind of fill in there. So that'll help you create create the transaction and instantly have these spaces available in the transaction. Okay, so now we're getting into the dirty work. Okay, so the dirty work. Dirty work starts now, so maybe this should be part 3. I should rename this part 3, dirty work. We're gonna get over to email templates. In your booklet there, email templates are built into your account, and they're different. So they're different now than they used to be. So we went through and cleaned up all the action plans and auto plans. Like, action plans used to only be available for, the action plans were in all accounts, that they were specifically for people with escrow accounts built on Ben Kinney's team here in Washington State. And so the majority of North America is not an escrow state, right? And so I come from a not escrow state. So when I went through and recreated the auto plans, and I'm just gonna click over real quick to auto plans, then click on transaction auto plans, that's gonna be our fixation today. You'll see 13 auto plans, but they didn't used to be, they were always for escrow states before. Now they really work for almost any state, but you do have to customize them because they work for almost any state, so you need to make them specific for your market. So that's the transaction auto plans, and we cleaned up the email templates to also reference the fact that it may not be an escrow state and that you guys need to do some editing here. Now, if you look into the section and you're a brand new user, and in the last few days you signed up with an account and got this, I marked through which ones require edit and which ones don't. So your new email templates are brand new to your system if you're a brand new user in the last few days. All these email templates reference whether you're escrow state or not, and they work for anybody, but you do need to kind of edit some of them up. And so we've marked which ones of those are. However, if you're an older user in an account, we pushed email templates out to your account whenever you started, and they weren't edited like this. So you don't have the new email templates because we didn't want to give you 2 of all the templates. Yeah. So, you know, just FYI, a lot of people said, I want to know, I have a list of the ones that need editing. We put that right into accounts for new users, but older users, we don't have that. So kind of wanted to go over that quickly with you guys. To edit these, you click on the pencil on the far right. And in that case, let's look at the home inspection one. I'm clicking on the pencil. Let's see what the edit is in here. So it appears in this one that the edit is that you're giving the name and phone number of 3 home inspectors in your area. So if you're a team that always works with several home inspectors and you want to be able to give an opportunity to your client to have 3 choices of home inspectors, we do want you to go in and add that here before sending this email template to anybody. So we marked the ones, otherwise a lot of these other ones work for anybody. So if I click on the pencil here for agent, keys, remotes, and code collection, this works perfectly. There are merge fields or placeholder fields, sorry, some systems call it merge fields, some people call it placeholder fields. So this is gonna fill in
their first name, recipient leads first name. It's gonna fill in their address.
The address associated with the transaction that this is being sent on. And
and then of course your name, that you being the agent that's sending out the email.
Now, you guys know that you're supposed to add your signature in Brivity, so I don't have a signature here, but I do have just like first name added here. So when you send this email, it'll say from Donna, and then professional signature below. The reason why we did this on a lot of the templates is because if somebody didn't know to add in their email signature into Brivity, and then they went to send this email, then there would be nothing in the signature line. So I at least put like first name. It's also really friendly. It's kind of like, you can call me Donna, you know? It's kind of a nice way to sign off. So you guys need to go through, edit the ones that are marked. Otherwise, we were suggesting to teams before, when it was just a lot of old templates that we had in there, we were suggesting that you go through and just look at all of them, see if they need an edit or not. It's pretty obvious, like if you looked at that one again, it's pretty obvious exactly what needs to be edited in that one. Okay, so creating a new template, you guys might want to check out all the placeholder fields, and when you select a placeholder field, it's going to look like that in the system. We gave you a list so that you have an idea of what kinds of placeholder fields we have available if you're like pre-planning for things to include in. Some of my favorite ones are agent website, as well as the team website. So some of the emails that we built into the system, we already referenced your team website. And in some of them, we referenced your agent's subdomain, so they could get the leads directly off that subdomain. There's other things in here like your dates. So if you slide down to transaction, I know it's a lot, so I'm getting down to transaction. They're in alphabetical order. Transaction appraisal date.
If you haven't spent any time looking at those,
So
do it.
you have all these different like dates that you can
set
include
up all your
in, like maybe
templates,
you want to write
and
an
take your
email,
client all the way through the
Going out
transaction.
to an attorney or a lender, letting them know all the pertinent dates with the transaction. You can just build that out and say, you know, this is the transaction close date, right? And then write the next one, grab the merge placeholder field, and set it, you know, that's how those are gonna work. So you're gonna type out your message, grab whatever field you want to fill in here, transaction address, and that's your field. Notice there's a lot of other WYSIWYG tools, that's what we call these, WYSIWYG tools, picture, you know, anything else you want to add in there to making it look pretty. Okay, so since we're taking so long, you want to customize all your email templates. We gave you a lot of the names that are there. We gave you a list of all of the email templates that need to be customized, but again, those are old ones. You can actually email support if we have a list of the old ones that need to be updated too, so we can send you that old list. So maybe contact support and say, Donna said, Tay said, Tay said, send me a list of all of the email templates that need editing for old accounts. Okay, so then, once that's set up, so roles, dates, email templates, auto plans is where you can go to start setting up your auto plans. Now we've given you 13. 13 different templates, ideas to use. But I actually want to ask Christina, and I hope I haven't gotten too far into your day. Christina was going to be on the line, and Friday too. So Friday's one of our coordinators on the other side. Hold on, I'm trying to find attendees. There we go. Gotta find Christina and Friday. Maybe this past Friday. Friday, there she is. Oh man. Okay. Unmute Friday. Oh, you're unmuted. Yay. And Christina. Now, some of Ben's team got a little early access to our transaction auto plans. There she is, Christina. And they set up their auto plans for transactions a little bit early based on the way that they need it to work on their team. And so, Christina, you're unmuted now as well, where you guys can both talk and kind of share over what you guys did in your thought process of creating these auto plans. And I'm just going to start by clicking Add a Plan, and maybe we can talk over what it would be like to create a plan from your methods.
Yes.
Are you guys there? Oh, there you are.
Hi. So
Hi.
yeah, I'm ready here as well.
Okay, great.
So the very first thing we did was actually think about how we want to kind of visualize these auto plans for our teams. So Friday and I share two very different brains, and Donna, if you don't mind giving us access to share our screens, we can kind of show you all what we mean by that.
So who's, share Christina's or Friday's?
I'll go with Friday first.
Okay.
So Friday, as she is pulling this up, is gonna be the visual thinker. She needs to visualize it, and I'll show you what we mean by that here in just a second.
Big presenter, there we go.
Okay. See. Sorry, just trying to get my screen shared here.
Okay.
You guys still getting value, or do you wanna cut it? It's up to you.
Let's cut it.
Okay. Okay, turn it off. All right. Did you get some good stuff out of this? Do you know how to do some things that you haven't been doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, calling from that, I would probably call from Brevity, because then it gives you it's probably a Searchlight Nevada number, but, cause my phone number is 217, so if I call from a Searchlight, people maybe ask.
And your Brevity phone number is an extension of your office, so be okay with that?
So we can update even our signatures to say office, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
So I think that's a value for me if I'm calling database, archiving.
Can we get, a bunch of those fields added under settings where we can add like people, like lenders and stuff, cause we don't, all we have is email templates and tags.
I think that you have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Collaborators.
Well, I don't have to do it, but
Oh,
whoever has my
yeah.
access.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
So it would be Patty, if Patty is, I don't know if Patty's on anymore, she's not.
Okay.
So make a note for Patty, to go in and dump some of the templates into everybody's, settings, into their auto plan settings, so that you can customize them, put your signature in there, etc. What else?
Searchlight Nevada, why does it come from that? The huddle call, it says Searchlight.
It's probably,
Is the broadcast in there?
hey, whatever works, right? What else? Anybody, any other feedback? Ahas? Anybody?
Well, actually, I was wondering, is it possible to, take people from Wisehire and Brevity?
Absolutely.
And that way we can do action plans that way.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be
Have them
really-
do a CSV file, and dump it in there.
Okay.
And then create, under people, create, applicants, et cetera. Yeah.
Do we have a date when the app's coming out? Because that was my biggest problem.
They just went into beta testing last week.
So my biggest problem is right now is if I have clients or people, not even clients, that I'm continuously keeping in contact with, they're getting a call or text from a completely separate phone number than mine. It's going to confuse them. Or they're going to think it's automated immediately.
And nothing will change even when you're on the app.
Wait, you need to change
So
some of
you,
the settings then.
well, you need
Because
to,
if it's not-
you need to let them know that you're using the Brevity phone number. That's
It's
your
your
phone number,
office.
it's assigned to you.
Yeah,
It
it's your
doesn't go to
office.
anybody else.
Shouldn't it say your cell phone though?
No.
No.
Oh,
Not
the
if you're
text
on, not if
message.
you're calling from Brevity.
If you're calling and
What is-
texting from Brevity, it's your office.
If it's automated.
No, it
Can you
shows,
change it?
it
and make
shows my number when I call.
Then you're not calling from the Brevity platform.
That's really odd, okay.
Yeah, you actually have to push the button
Yeah, I
in
did
Brevity
that.
under the contact and
Okay.
call from
Let
there.
us just.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Any other questions? Okay, so we're done with that. Let's talk about, we have Ignite starting today at 1 o'clock. How many in the room are going to attend Ignite? 2 of you? 3 of you? 3 and a half? Do I hear 4? Going once? 4? Starts today. It's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next 30 days. Real quick, so Ignite is about getting into business. Are you familiar with Ignite at all? Okay, so it's basically a 4-week plan of getting into production, getting into accountability, and pulling your business through. Bold is Ignite on super steroids, just for those of you who just want to understand the difference between. But some of you are doing Bold and Ignite. Oh, wow.
Bold.
No pressure, no diamonds there. So Ignite starts today in this room at 1 o'clock. It's free. If you haven't signed up, sign up. If you still haven't signed up after lunch, just show up. And 1 to 4. Monday,
Sharon
Wednesday,
teaches
Friday.
all of it today, correct?
Sharon teaches today, Sharon the
Oh.
broker, yep. And then I teach Wednesday and Friday of this week. And then a bunch of other agents teach the rest of the 30 days. Real Talk, Bold First, step 2 is going to be tomorrow at the Henderson Convention Center. Russ starts at 8:30 sharp.
I like it.
If you are on my team, you are not permitted to be late. That's a weird feeling for 150 people to watch you walk through that door. Don't be late. Get there early. If you've never been to Henderson Convention Center, if you're not sure how traffic's gonna be, go early, guys. I'm telling you, go early.
It's gonna be a lot, if you live on this side of town,
Oh my God, it
the
was
215
so hard to
traffic
get
is
there.
hefty.
Yep,
like,
so go early.
Especially that like stretch, like Rainbow, Durango,
Yeah.
like all that Buffalo. Oh, it's
It's
bad.
gonna be hefty in a couple of different places.
Okay, so Real Talk, Thursday, October 25th, in this room at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Do we have a lunch sponsor?
We do.
Okay, great. So we are all prepared. You and I will meet early Wednesday morning at some point. Let's get it on our calendar so that we're prepared for it. And you're not blindsided on Thursday. And then we have the Halloween door decorating contest, which is Monday, October 29th from 12 to 2. I've committed $100. You guys get to commit to decorating and making it the best, so you win. I don't know what we win.
Okay, so we do have a idea of what we want, we're not the best drawers, so if we have realtors / artists, please help us out because there's some things that we do need drawn out, okay?
Totally, just get a dummy, like have it like look scary, and then put like a Fizbo shirt on or something.
So what are you doing Monday, the 29th at 12 o'clock?
Not bad. Not bad.
All right, so I will leave it to you to coordinate with everybody. And I would say that that probably needs to be handled this week.
Yes.
Hey Amelia, what's
Yes.
the idea? Like, what do we?
Well,
what's
I
the
should
theme?
have posted, but this is what the idea we have. I'll pass it around so you guys can see. But, can you guys see it from there?
Yeah.
And when you say the idea we had, who's we?
Well, Jody and I had.
Wait,
Jody, me.
I don't know about this, so I'm not included in that.
Actually, wait, let me tell you, I have proof here that she does know about it, because this was emailed to her, okay?
Yes, but did she respond?
Yes, she did.
What does it say?
Did I say?
Welcome to the.
Oh, yeah, I did. Oh, okay. Okay.
We're new, raise
And
your
your
hands here.
pictures are gonna be on the bottom, it's little ghost on the bottom.
Okay, welcome to the Nut House, raise your hand, or the like fake dummy Fizbo thing, raise your hand.
Both. I like the Fizbo thing.
That's
We can hang.
But you know what else they do?
Okay, so you guys, after I get done, you guys can talk about that all day long. Questions, answers, derogatory remarks, anybody?
No dog.
Anybody?
Boo. Negative.
Thank you for bringing the brownies, there was some green
Yes.
stuff in there. A little weird.
Is that why I have big
I was there,
beard
everybody
right
almost
now?
fell asleep there.
Alright, thanks everybody, be bold, and
the door.
I hope to see you two at Real Talk Thursday in this room at 11 a.m. Okay, it'll be really good, and then I want to talk to you for a couple minutes. Alright, thanks everybody.